pick your class and
earn your battle points.
Because it's time for the Star Wars Battlefront Podcast. Welcome to episode 178 of the Star Wars Battlefront Podcast. I'm your host, Sage Goodwin, joined by my brother and co-host, Sam Goodwin.
Hello there.
In this episode, we're going over the absolute ton of details on the upcoming updates for Star Wars Battlefront 2, as well as our impressions for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Let's get started.
Sector is clear. Not clear. Not clear.
Let's get started with the big update for Battlefront, and the big headlining news of today being Wednesday, December 4th, as we're recording, the Star Wars Battlefront 2 Celebration Edition, which launches on December 5th. So if you don't know, the Celebration Edition is it's a new edition for Star Wars Battlefront 2. For new players, it's $40, and you get the base game, which comes with all the updates, which are free, and more than 25 hero appearances, including 6 legendary appearances, plus 1 appearance each for Rey, Finn, and Kylo Ren, inspired by The Rise of Skywalker, which will also be able to be purchased after the fact through credits and crystals. More than 125 trooper and reinforcement appearances, more than 100 hero and trooper emotes and voice lines, and more than 70 hero and trooper victory poses. So the main draw of this is all about the appearances. So it's $40 if you're just coming to the game, and it is $25 if you want to upgrade. So it's $25 for pretty much all of the cosmetics available in the game, including the new appearances going to be released on December 5th for the Clone Commando, BX Commander Droid, ARC Trooper, and the Droideka.
Yeah, this is a pretty good idea. I mean, definitely worth the price tag for your upgrading, because those crystals are pretty expensive for the pack.
Yeah, definitely. Like, if you already have the game, one of the legendary skins is $20. If you already have the game, then you just pay an extra $5 and you get all of them.
Yes, this is a really good idea. The game is really cheap, like you can find it as low as $10 at certain places if it's on sale. So this is a nice reiteration of the game. Kind of put the price tag up a little bit, because all kinds of games do this eventually with legendary editions. Even Overwatch has one. So many games do this, so it's nice to see them doing it. It's definitely been a couple of years since it released. So
yeah, it's actually Battlefront 2 is actually 2 years old. That's pretty amazing to think about. What's very interesting is I think this is a good sign that Battlefront 2 will be continuing into 2020. As usually when games, multiplayer games like this, do a re-release or a new box, basically, that means that they're going to be continuing support of the game. Because why would they make you pay $40 for a game that they're not going to support? I think it's pretty good. Are we going to get it, Sam?
Probably not. I don't think we would. I wouldn't want to do it, but if you want to buy it, that's on you.
If I was into the skins,
cosmetics aren't
yes,
like necessary, so yeah, I don't think I'd fork over $25 for a few skins.
Yeah, we have most of the skins that I really want, and if not, I'm fine with just saving up credits for it.
Right, yeah, just farming, because not all the skins are cool. There's only a few that I really like for certain heroes. So yeah, I'd probably just, farm for credits and, pick what kind of skins I want.
Overall, though, I think it's a good sign for the community. I think it's a good sign for newcomers if that speaks to you on your discount point. They just went on sale recently for the whole Black Friday week or whatever, and it was $12.50, and normally it's $25.
Right. But you can find a lot on Craigslist or eBay for really cheap.
Yeah.
Really cheap. But if you're wanting to get into Battlefront, this is a really good opportunity to get everything right off the bat, because we've had it for 2 years and still only have a few cool skins. So definitely could catch up with all the veterans with your skin buying and such. So if you're just coming into Battlefront, definitely worth the $35 price tag.
Moving on from the Celebration Edition, which I think is overall good for the community, we've got another cool thing coming up. So alongside this, we've got 2 updates in this month. We've got the one coming out on the 5th, which is tomorrow as we record this. That is a complete appearance-based update with some bug fixes and that kind of thing. That's going to be good. It also comes with a bunch of events throughout the month, so you can unlock limited time only appearances and that kind of thing. You have a chance to re-earn those if you missed out on them when they were first available. But also, on starting December 17th is the next update available to all Star Wars Battlefront 2 players. It's titled The Rise of Skywalker. That's a pretty unique name right there, wouldn't you say, Sam?
Definitely.
I mean, I don't think I've heard it in the Star Wars community before.
Yeah. Right.
If you've been living under a rock or have just been busy today, which happens, I mean, it's December. Christmas is coming. Rise of Skywalker update will bring a new location, a brand new jungle planet that you might have caught a glimpse of in the last trailer for Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. That's coming to Battlefront 2. It's going to, they're bringing the planet to co-op in December, where you'll be able to play as either Resistance or First Order as the conflict spreads to the tropical paradise. At the same time, the location will be available in Heroes vs. Villains 2. The sequel-era locations, Takodana, Jakku, and Starkiller Base will join the co-op rotation as well, with all mentioned planets featuring both attack and defense scenarios. New reinforcements. We've got 4 additional sequel-era reinforcements that are coming to the game. Protected by a striking red armor, the Infiltrator-class Sith Trooper of the First Order excels in speed and advanced weaponry to hunt down and destroy anyone standing in the way. Pretty awesome there. They're also getting an extremely nimble reinforcement. The new and overhauled First Order Jet Trooper can fly, dodge, hover, and even tackle opponents with powerful jets. Use them to your advantage to crush the resistance from the skies with a grenade attachment enhanced blaster rifle. A new gunner and spy unit will also be taking arms up for the resistance. And these are 2 new alien species from Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. There's also going to be new hero appearances for Finn, Rey, and Kylo Ren. Those new appearances, reinforcements, and co-op experiences will arrive on December 17th, though we will have to wait a little longer to set foot on the new jungle planet, opening up for all players to explore on December 20th. So we're getting the appearances, the reinforcements, and co-op. We're going to have to wait a little longer for it to come to the sequel trilogy coming to Capital Supremacy. That's where it gets interesting. Already starting strong in 2020, January is going to be bringing 2 new heroes as well as sequel trilogy to Capital Supremacy. That I'm super excited about. I'm so happy that they're bringing a different era to Capital Supremacy and really taking on that gameplay format, that game, to a different era on completely different capital ships. Quote, in January, we're excited to bring Capital Supremacy to the sequel era. That means 2 new capital ships to defend or bring down. The MC-85 of the Resistance and the Resurgent-class Star Destroyer. The massive vessels will station themselves above the high-agency ground battles taking place on the new jungle planet from Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker and Jakku. The same 2 locations are coming to offline instant action as well, so that's good to see. So obviously, it's Star Wars, you can't get away from the freaking sand planet, so Jakku is going to be added to Capital Supremacy. I think this is one of the highlighting pieces of the update. It's definitely got a lot of people talking about what a hero means to Star Wars Battlefront. Some people are super happy about it. Some people are excited for those people are excited for the really unique gameplay that these heroes are going to be offering. And then the other people are just really disappointed that we aren't getting another gun or such fighter in the game. And those 2 heroes are BB-8 and BB-9E, which I'm pretty excited about. I think that's going to be a fun addition to the game. What are your thoughts?
We had a R2-D2 playable in Battlefront 2015, so it'd be similar to that, I'd imagine.
Except these will be completely controllable.
Right, yeah, he was kind of on a set path, but I mean, that was the first kind of like droid playability, at least in a small form we saw. So I'm actually really interested to see how this is going to play out.
Yeah, definitely. What are your thoughts around the whole thoughts of these? This isn't a good hero for the game. What do you say to that?
As far as the droids?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of interesting to have a droid, and even the small droid. Like, these are extremely tiny droids as far as that goes.
But still taller than Yoda by 0.01 meters.
Very slight margin. But these, I mean, BB-8 is seen to like kind of do some offensive moves in the films.
Yeah, especially in The Last Jedi.
Yeah,
he
did take down like Captain Phasma. Really.
And an ATST.
Yeah, so I mean, if you are gonna pick a droid, these are like the most aggressive, like astromech type droids. I'm not gonna say anything until I kind of see him come out, because
we haven't. My thing is, we haven't seen anything on these heroes and villains. All we know are the characters, but we have seen in the movies a clear idea of what we could expect from them. Probably going to have a flamethrower ability, probably going to have a shocking ability, and I would imagine kind of like a Chewbacca slam, or more like a Han Solo burst through something.
Right, yeah, some sort of sprint ability, because they are spherical, so definitely aerodynamic in that aspect. But this is really interesting to see like a droid as a playable hero, like that's not like an IG-88 droid or some sort of assassin droid. I could see him being a reinforcement, in that aspect. But
I think of them more reinforcements than I do as heroes.
Even when I read it, I just immediately thought that somehow it would relate to the Starfighter assault. But nope, they're going to be on the ground fighting. So that'll be interesting to see for sure.
My thing is, I wasn't expecting heroes at all. Like, I was hoping there would be heroes, but I didn't expect them. So this is good to see that we're getting something in the game, at least.
Yeah, I'm not going to do any negative connotations with it. I'm just going to wait to see some gameplay and then kind of assess my initial thoughts on that.
See what you think about it once that you've actually played it. We've got the Celebration Edition. We've got the update that spans December and January that covers Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. What are your predictions for 2020? They did say once we get into January that we'll be getting details on what's coming in February and March.
Definitely have to play it by ear, but I'd imagine it would be somewhat similar to what they've been doing the past, 5-6 months. Just kind of maintaining the game, still adding updates, kind of adding more reinforcement type stuff. And
do you think it will be based on the sequel trilogy?
Not sure.
Do you think this marks the end of the Clone Wars?
Right. But after this one, they do their Rise of Skywalker DLC. They won't have too much to work off of.
What I would absolutely love is a Mandalorian season.
That would be cool. I could definitely see that happening. And there's quite a bit of Star Wars content coming out. I could definitely see them doing a Mandalorian season, and maybe if they do want to do the content route, maybe tie it back in with the original trilogy, because we have had no updates concerning the original trilogy since this game came out.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all been prequel and sequel trilogy stuff, because, obviously the base game does come with quite a bit of original trilogy content.
Yeah, just to start off
as far as heroes, even maps go. But, we haven't had many updates, or any updates at all dedicated to just the original trilogy.
Yeah, the closest we've gotten was the Solo update that added Sullust. No, not Sullust.
The Jabba,
the Coaxian mine, and
the Jabba's palace, and that was technically in the original trilogy time frame, but still we haven't had any dedicated to that. So I could see them, finishing the Rise of Skywalker, doing a Mandalorian, and maybe eventually tying that in with the original trilogy. That's if they want to do that like heavy content route. Or otherwise their other option is kind of just maybe doing a couple big updates here and there. Otherwise, just more quality of life stuff, and maybe the occasional new game mode and some reinforcements. But we'll see. When that roadmap comes out for sure. I have like no idea how they're going to take this game. I can only speculate, and that's very loosely based. But yeah, I don't know.
There's definitely a strong Star Wars push right now. I think this is one of the... November and December have been some of the strongest months for Star Wars content we've had so far.
Yeah, which is a good sign coming in the future, but this is the end of the year, so it might be like, not a last-ditch effort, but kind of, throwing it all out there, because it's been 2 years the game's been out, so kind of rewarding the players for sticking around this long. But once, January, February come, we'll definitely see how that's going to play out. So I'm interested to see how they take this game in the future. Because Battlefront 2015 lasted like, what, was that a couple of years? Yeah. 2017.
It was 2 years.
And then this game's lasted 2 years, but...
I think we'll get to 3. I think we can definitely reasonably assume that we'll get to at least 2.5 to 3.
Yeah, but I'm definitely interested to see how this game's going to play out, because they still have a considerable amount of players still. The fan base is quite large for a game that's been out for 2 years, and yeah, we'll have to wait till January, February to see where they take this game. I'm definitely interested in seeing how they will take this game.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that there are any Star Wars games coming out in 2020. So I think that's the perfect time to get a push on this kind of content, where we've got a lull in Star Wars video games. Actually, I think we're getting, I don't know when the new Lego Star Wars game is coming out, but that is set either soon after.
Yeah, but I wouldn't consider that like, these mainline Star Wars games. This is just
it
doesn't
a
like
really,
comical, it's a satirical tie-in with the films.
Yeah, it's more of like a parody content than really adding to the universe.
Because even after we stopped getting Star Wars games, there was Lego Star Wars coming out, and people, weren't like, oh, there's still Star Wars content coming out. I wouldn't consider that like, it's obviously still a Star Wars game, but it's not like new content. This is like really based off the movies. Yeah, so I don't know. We don't have any like big like Jedi Fallen Order or Battlefront 3 release dates or even speculation. So
yeah, if there was a Battlefront 3, I would say we'd start hearing about it right about now. Just because EA or E3 and EA Play and all of that stuff's coming up really quickly. Just a few months, and if it was going to be shown, that's when it would be shown, at least around that time frame. So I think we can reasonably assume that we could get to 3 years on the support of Battlefront 2 before we start hearing words of a new game.
Right.
Just because I think there's still so much potential with this game, and I don't think there's a huge regaining of that goodwill. Goodwill, or that I would say, towards Star Wars Battlefront and that franchise.
Right, because the graphics still hold up. They have a really good engine. I mean, the only drive to them making a new game would be money, because all these DLC are free, so they're not making money off of that. Obviously, they did release the Celebration, so that's a new...
Yeah, but I don't think that they have regained their credit with the Star Wars Battlefront name quite yet with the whole gaming community. Obviously, we as fans understand the whole situation that went down regarding the loot boxes or lack thereof, and the whole overblown nature of the publications and covering of the game.
Right, and that could be taken either way, in a negative sort of way, like, oh, the name Battlefront has been kind of ruined, or it could be a fresh start for them to have another chance, because this game did start off really well, and as far as EA Play went, the beta testing went really well over the fans. Like, it was a really anticipated game, but I mean, the months that followed were pretty brutal for the game.
Yeah.
So it could be taken either way. They could have that negative sort of sense with it, or they can start fresh and get people that way.
I just think that it doesn't feel like the game's been out 2 years by the kind of content and the kind of support that we've been getting. We've been getting really good support, but the first span of maybe 6 months was the game really trying to catch up to itself, and the stuff that they put themselves in.
Revamped the game multiple times, completely change how the game worked. That's like them redoing Sonic's graphics,
Exactly.
So they started off really rough, so like it doesn't feel like it's been out that long. And that's kind of rough. So I could see them, like you said, maybe 3 or 2.5, 3 years. Especially since the Celebration just came out. And that means it's going to be here for a little while longer.
Yeah, I'd say once the Celebration Edition gets lower in price, that's when we could start seeing the expectation for Battlefront 3, or what would the next phase of Star Wars Battlefront shooters coming out. But something we haven't talked about on the podcast, we took a bit of a break there for a little bit for Thanksgiving, and then we were going to record one, and they announced that the update information would be launched about 4 days after we were planning it. So we're like, okay, let's hold off on this real quick and cover the news. Let's talk about Fallen Order. So I've played around 65% of the game, still working through. I'm playing on the Jedi Master difficulty, which is making the game a lot longer than it normally would, just because of how difficult it is. But let's talk about the game.
I think I'm like 30-something% into it, and I'm on Jedi Knight, which is, it's like the normal difficulty recommended. And if I were to do a harder difficulty, I would, do the max. But this is a kind of thing to get your fundamentals squared away. Probably recommended to start on Jedi Knight for sure.
So there are 4 different difficulties. There is story mode, there is Jedi Knight, Jedi Master, and Jedi Grandmaster. We're not going to get into spoilers, but let's talk about our expectations of the game before it came out, now that it's here, and how we've been enjoying playing the game and the mechanics and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I kind of I kept myself from having expectations. I even really I watched the initial cinematic trailer for the game, but after that I avoided I even tried to avoid the EA Play presentation, but he made me watch it.
I did.
Yeah, but I had avoided most of the gameplay, and that's what I'm doing with The Rise of Skywalker right now, is avoiding those trailers. But yeah, just avoid all the stuff, and I had no expectations, so I was pleasantly surprised by it, and really reminds me of, the Force Unleashed when it first came out. Not like the story, but some of the gameplay aspects, even customization to an extent. And I really like that sort of nostalgia with it. And it's just really solid gameplay-wise. It plays really well. The lightsaber combat is really smooth. Thought it'd be a little more shaky, but it's really solid. And just the whole skill tree I really like, and it really works well.
Yeah. Well, on the terms of the gameplay, I knew it was going to be great because it's Respawn. Respawn is one of the best at game feel, and I've really been enjoying keeping up with the game and following along. Really enjoyed interviewing Stephen Barton and Gordy Hab. Great guys. Great composers for the game. If you haven't listened to that episode, definitely check it out. It's the episode 177. But yeah, it's solid. On Twitter, I described it as an amalgamation of all of the best games in the last decade mixed together and thrown Star Wars into. And what comes out is one of the best Star Wars game experiences out there. Kylo's a little bland as a character, but I think that works to the benefit of the story. I think it's good to have him as a character that's more neutral, and then the surrounding characters be more of the foundation, because I think that's where you really get the meat of the story.
I feel the crew is really similar to Solo, a Star Wars story. Like, you have the really charismatic pilot that's super small and really alien. Even their voices sound fairly similar. Yeah, even you have the one lady, the love interest, and it just seems very similar with the crew. Even the ship is mildly similar. So I was getting really, really deja vu there. But yeah, the characters are really nice. They feel kind of stock-like. Do you expect, them to be like that? But it works out well. It's a set formula, and that's why they did that. So far, like I said, only 33%, but really loving the game so far.
Yeah. It's a great homage to, like I said, the popular mechanics and the great single player games that we've gotten so far. It has the God of War feel to an extent. It's got Metroidvania aspects. We've got some flavorings of the Force Unleashed, and I think it really holds up.
It's been a really long time since I've really dedicated a little bit of time for story mode games. I'm more of a multiplayer type guy, so I really miss the kind of, the parkour and the puzzle aspects. I really miss that in games. So really nice to come back for sure.
And know that you have a set goal that you're going into.
Right, and I can just play a little bit of it and go off for a bit and come back to it, and it's like the same. So nice playability there. It's not like some games where consumed with it. I mean, obviously, if I got a little bit further into it, I'd probably be consumed with it. But I'm taking a little slow. And I really enjoy playing it, and definitely pleasantly surprised by the game. I don't know, because once I started for a little bit, I was really into it and playing it a lot. And I haven't really played a Star Wars game like that since Star Wars: The Force Unleashed 1. So yeah, for sure, definitely a good game.
I'm really enjoying the aspect of the Metroidvania aspect of the game, to where you earn different abilities that allow you to go back to these set maps, so these set planets that you can explore and get to different areas and unlock different secrets in. I think that's super enjoyable. The first thing I did was go to a certain planet where a certain Dathomirian is from. Dathomir. I get the crap beat out of me. Because I didn't have the abilities needed to actually progress through that map. But then I'll go through the rest of more towards the game, and I earn these different abilities, and I come back, and I'm able to get to where I need to go on that specific planet. It's a great feeling, and it's a great level of accomplishment that you get from playing the game.
At least as far as I go, these are fairly initial thoughts, and I'll definitely see how it plays out the more I get into the game. But yeah, really, like, it gives you, some freedom, like you said. Some planets you aren't meant to go to, and you do learn it. It's kind of punishing you for being too, explorative. So I like how it gives you the freedom to, pick certain planets to go to and explore certain environments. So that's a really cool aspect of the game.
Yeah, definitely. This, I said it on Twitter, this, God of War, and a bunch of the other single-player games that Sony has been making are some of the best examples of how powerful and successful single-player story-driven games can be. EA had set a level of expectation for how many units they were going to sell, and they have surpassed that. And it's continuing to be successful as we go into the holiday season. And this clearly shows EA, a multiplayer-focused company, that these single-player games can be extremely successful because there is a market for these types of games. Not everything has to be extremely multiplayer, but they can make a really high-quality Star Wars game that tells a great story, has great gameplay, and can still be extremely successful without any microtransactions or multiplayer. And only Respawn could do that to open the way for more companies to do so.
Right, yeah. Even when you finish it, there's certain paths you can do, like certain challenges, like with every multiplayer game, they have that. Even, like I'm doing, played on Jedi Knight, then afterwards played on Grandmaster.
See how far you can make it.
Platinum the game, depending on what console you're playing. So these single players do have a lot of playability. It's not just, go through the story and be done with it. And even if you do that route, that's quite a bit of hours set to the game. So you're definitely getting your money's worth for sure.
Oh, definitely. IGN has only given EA games, there have only been 4 EA published games that have gotten a 9 or higher. 3 of those 4 are Respawn games. That would be Jedi Fallen Order, Titanfall 2, and Apex. The 4th is Battlefield 1. Respawn is one of those companies that just raises the bar. So I really think that they have really opened the way for more Star Wars games of this caliber to be made while EA has this license. And I think this is really a slap in the face to EA that says, hey, we can do more of this.
Yeah, and this will definitely pave the way for more single-player Star Wars-driven games because there's so many different options they can go. There's just so much Star Wars content you can produce, and this is all original and canon. So, there's so many options they can go. And, if this was a bad game, it definitely would stunt EA's drive to make another single-player game. So I'm glad it's successful.
If this was unsuccessful, then I don't think we would have gotten another single-player Star Wars game for quite some time. But since it was, I think we can expect more of it in the future. Overall, this is a great time for Star Wars. This is a great time for Star Wars games. We've got the amazingness of Jedi Fallen Order. We've got the cool updates that are coming in for Battlefront 2. And we've got the Rise of Skywalker coming very soon. It's crazy to think about. I think that's it for this episode of the Star Wars Battlefront podcast. I've been your host, Sage Goodwin.
And I'm Sam Goodwin. And as we go along the game, we'll definitely post updates. And
definitely.
For sure. But I'm really... you're a little over halfway through with it.
Yeah, I'm about 62, 65.
Like a third of the way done. So, yeah, once we get more into the game, we'll retouch it and cover it some more, too.
And then once we get to that point where we can talk about spoilers, we'll have like a spoiler warning later on in the episode kind of thing. Like we'll cover Battlefront. We'll do impressions once we finish the game, and then we'll go into straight spoilers. That's for another time. Thank you so much for listening. You can follow us on Twitter at SWB Podcast, twitter.com/SWB Podcast. It's greatly appreciated. You can stay up to date on what's going on. During the whole hiatus of Battlefront Podcast, I was keeping everyone up to date on the news that was happening for Star Wars Battlefront, for Jedi Fallen Order, and talking about first impressions, that kind of thing. And I kind of did like a little tweet thread on playing Star Wars Fallen Order first time. So definitely, if you want more content like that, definitely hit a follow on Twitter. You can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/battlefrontpodcast. Like friend of the podcast, Joseph Loera. You can also support us through PayPal, paypal.me/tie-dye-sheep, TYEDYESHEEP. Like friend of the podcast, Daniel Schilling. Definitely shout out to a friend of the podcast, Daniel. You can also support us through the Cash App, which is our username on there is $SWB podcast, like friend of the podcast, Eric. A completely free way to support this show is through leaving a review on iTunes. It helps us out a ton and lets other people know what's going on with the podcast and lets us get your feedback. It helps us out a ton. Got 4.5 total ratings on the 4.5 stars for our ratings on there over all of them. Definitely help us with that.
Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/the Star Wars Battlefront Podcast, or Gmail is battlefrontpodcast@gmail.com.
You can listen to the show on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Wherever you find podcasts, you can find this show. Definitely going into the holiday seasons. If you have a friend, family member, acquaintance, coworker that's getting into Star Wars Battlefront 2, Jedi Fallen Order, maybe they get it for Christmas, definitely share the podcast with them. It'd be greatly appreciated. As always,
thanks for listening.
And may the Force be with you.